For Christmas, my parents got me Metal Robot branded stuff again. I love it. I got a new shirt, I got a poster, I got a mouse pad, and I also got a Metal Robot pen. This isn't the first time they've done this either. Last Christmas, they got me this Metal Robot sweater, and for my birthday, they got me this Metal Robot t-shirt. I love the fact that they support what I do. I really do, don't get me wrong. I love the fact that they support what I do. I'm very lucky and very fortunate to have that. But I swear, they keep this up, I'm gonna be a walking merch table for Halloween next year. All right, step right up. We got your Metal Robot merch right here. Come on by. Come on by.
Initializing video. Welcome to the program. This is Metal Robot Reviews.
Welcome to the Metal Robot Reviews channel. I'm your host, Tom McKay. Happy New Year! We have survived another year of whatever the fuck is going on right now. I mean, we were already killing the planet at a slow pace, so we decided to just speed it up with a possible third world war. Look, all I'm saying is, at this point in our human evolution, we pretty much deserve to die. But if this is the last year we live, then thank God we can go out with a hell of a year for music. 2019 saw some amazing comebacks and some huge surprises, especially in metal. So, to close out the year, we'll be counting down the top 10 best metal albums of 2019. I have to admit, this was a hard list to put together. There was so much great music to come out this year, I legit was about to have a 5-way tie for the top spot. But then I remembered, wait, no. That would be bullshit. Couple things before I start, first of which being, if your favorite album is not on this list, then either A, I didn't hear it this year, after all, there was a lot of great music to come out this year, a lot of music in general. B, I did hear it, but I wasn't really sure it should be on the list, or at least better than any of the stuff I ended up picking. Or C, proceed with caution over to my worst of the year list when you're done here. Now, the other thing I want to mention, before we get started at number 10, I want to bring back a segment called The People vs. MRR. It's a segment that I have done in the past where I display an album that people think should be on the best of the year list, but I personally didn't think it should be. And also, this is usually a segment that pisses quite a few people off. So let's reveal and hope that this one doesn't do that. Give me a second while I, for no reason in particular, duck to the fucking ground. Okay, now that you have a chance to reload, let me explain. Yes, this is actually a really good album. Really, it is, I agree. Hell, the more I listen to it, the more I wanted to put it on the list. Really, truly. But it's not on the list. And it's pretty simple why. It is because, and I can't stress this enough, there's just not enough of it. The simulation clocks in at about 26 minutes, which for a full length is super short as it is. I've had bad albums last longer than this. This one just kind of shows up, does something cool, drinks anthrax, and dies. If you want to keep it going, you gotta hit the replay button to revive it, just for it to do the same goddamn thing. I talked more about it in the extended review I did for the 10-second purge on themetalrobot.com. Born of Osiris has a real presence to them that can be felt on every single album. It's unmatched by every other deathcore band out there, at least the ones I've heard. But presence alone isn't enough, especially if you don't bombard the listener with enough of it. If my brain isn't jostled by the end of a Born of Osiris record, then something clearly went wrong. Look, this is a fantastic record, but I don't want to have an experience like this be cut short and then be blueballed for 2 years just to wait for the next one. Please, for the love of Born of Osiris, double the runtime. But okay, you came here for the list, so let's start at number 10.
Number 10.
You know, funny thing, if I had heard their first album, Narratives, back in 2016, like everybody else had, then not only would they have come close to the top of that list, but they would have also been there instead of hacktivist. The hell were they smoking back then? This record is an interesting one. While Narratives focused heavily on the modern metalcore sound with amazing rapping skills from our lead vocalist, American Sun seems to take a heavier lean towards the rapping side of nu metal. Some of the beats here are more digital, and AJ Channer is focusing a lot more on the rapping rather than the screaming. And believe it or not, it actually works. AJ isn't like a lot of the other rappers that are around nowadays. He has actual flow, he has actual rhythm, and his lyrics are not only deep and personal, but they also hit really hard in a lot of different places. And even though the digital portion of the music is a bit more prevalent here, the band behind AJ is not only as present, but maybe even more present than on Narratives. Fire from the Gods really brought it this year. American Sun was a fantastic record for a fantastic year. And no, politics has nothing to do with it either. It's a great album with fantastic music, no matter which way you swing. Maybe this could be here because I have a fetish for catchy melodies and metalcore. Lots of metalcore. But the Raven Age did a fantastic job this year. I discovered them recently through a lot of my fellow online critics talking about this album, and also the mountains of articles talking about how the Iron Maiden bass player made a sperm donation to the band. But Conspiracy speaks about the lineup's musical talent volumes louder than who's actually in it. Music on this album is heavy, but it's also catchy. The riffs and lead work done by Tony Mao and the Spawn of Harris are ear infections incarnate. The rhythm section is doing a pretty good job too. While I wouldn't say they're the best there is, they are doing a really good job at holding up that foundation for the rest of the band to stand on. And of course, Matt James's vocals soared above everyone else from beginning to end. All in all, Conspiracy is a fantastic record from 2019, and I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't done so already.
Number 8.
Waters as a band, I didn't think would grow on me as much as they did, but they had a similar situation with Yob, of all bands. They sound nothing alike by any means, but the music on Now Cometh the Foul, the more I listened to it, the more I realized I enjoyed it a lot. The crunch, the sludge, the dirty, disgusting feeling while listening to it. It was all amazing. It's the kind of metal album that you really need to check out if you haven't done so already. The punishing riffs, the vocals that hit just as hard as the drums do, it's all amazing. Seriously, check it out. Get a huge recommendation for me. Also, yes, I still think they need to make their own version of D&D. I was serious about that. Guys, make Caves and Crusty Centaurs a thing. I just gave you $1 million idea. Get on it.
Number 7.
Yeah, if you don't like this pick, you're gonna hate me after this video's over. Dream Theater, much like another band I could probably mention, will never be as good as the Glory Days. I've come to terms with that, and in doing so, have found a new love and appreciation for their new stuff. They ranked at number 10 on my Best of the Year list back in 2016 with The Astonishing, and I feel like they've gotten better since then with Distance Over Time. For one thing, we're not working with a 2-hour concept this time, but also a lot of the tones on this album are harkening back to the Rush but Pantera days. It's been very clear that Dream Theater have been leaning more towards the prog rock side of the spectrum when it comes to progressive music. Here though, it seems like they still have their feet in the metal pool. A lot of the low, thick riffs on this album come out quite nicely. And of course, it's a Dream Theater record. You've got John Petrucci, you've got John Myung, you've got James LaBrie. We're down at Portnoy, but we're still good. After all, let's just hope to God that we don't ever get another dramatic turn of events. That was shit. I'm sorry, but it's true. Don't at me.
Number 6.
Why did we let the metal mad scientist make another album? Because he makes amazing music, and Empath is no exception. It's a great listen for Devin Townsend fans, and also a crazy experience for any newcomers. From the opening track onward, you're taken through a world of ever-changing sounds and styles that flow seamlessly together. It's never an instance of it changes so much that it's jarring. It's more of it changes so much that it's like tripping on acid. And that's the best way I can describe this album. Have you seen the alternate cover art? It's big, it's chaotic, and it's beautifully crafted to induce you with a coma of crazy acid trips. I need to stop associating this with psychedelic drugs. But yeah, Empath gets my vote for the top spot, at least close to it. And I really do hope that the metal mad scientist has another crazy experiment for next time. It's at this point in the video where we begin to have a lot more fun. And I think the entirety of Hail Stan can actually be summed up in this interview.
I'm guessing it's like a joke on Hail Satan. Is that right?
Wait, the album isn't called Hail Satan?
Periphery really stepped up this year. It has been a bit since we heard that Nolly was stepping down as an active member to be able to focus a bit more on his time in the studio. They also gave the band a lot more time to focus more on the songwriting, give themselves plenty of time to get it all worked out. I mean, we've seen what kind of quality music these guys can create on a deadline. This is what they can create when they essentially double that time. And unlike their previous albums, Hail Stan has a lot more experimenting going on. Long opening songs, songs on cocaine, songs that are more digital than metal, and songs that are pretty poppy, but also not losing the edge of the band. I feel like Periphery is as strong as ever here, and there's no telling what kind of great music they can create if they push themselves even further. Though, I do hope they don't push themselves too much. I don't want to know what kind of spawn of Stan comes out of that kind of work ethic. But anyways, moving on. Ooh, this album, so good. This album is not only the album that kept me awake at 6 a.m. while driving on the highway, but it's also probably one of the heaviest records to come out of this year. The Valley is an album that came out back in Q1 of 2019, but I never got a chance to talk about it proper. However, when I bought the CD and put it in my car, I was blown away by the power of this band. The guitars, the drums, the bass, especially the vocals, they go straight for the throat and begin to squeeze. I think what really sold me on The Valley was the lyrics, as I'm sure many others were sold on that too. Reading through the songbook that came with the CD was like reading Phil Bozeman's personal journals. It was unsettling and very depressing. Add that with perfectly crafted music and you feel every single word sung, every single word screamed, every single word growled. Fantastic record, front to back. I highly recommend The Valley, even if you're not a deathcore fan. Whitechapel really brought it this year, and I can't wait to hear what they come out with next. Another great album from this year, and especially from Slipknot. People have been celebrating We Are Not Your Kind as the best Slipknot album to come out, period. And while I'd hesitate to say it's the best, the fact that they're willing to step out of their comfort zone this much doesn't exactly make me disagree either. Slipknot delivered with We Are Not Your Kind, taking things to new heights from the opening of Unsainted to the ending of Solway Firth. The twists and turns on this album are everywhere. Spiders alone sounds like it was ripped straight from an old 80s horror movie involving a Jack-in-the-Box. That's not to say that they lost touch with their heavy side though. Many of the songs on We're Not Your Kind, such as Nero Forte, Orphaned, and even Solway Firth, while doesn't resemble it, do harken back a bit to the Iowa days. It's a foot in the past, but a step towards the future. A great addition to the kick-ass music to come out of 2019, and we're not even at number 1 yet. Remember when I said that there was another prog band that has no intention of changing their sound? Yeah, this is the one. And I want to make things perfectly clear to any old Opeth faithful who are watching this thinking that I prefer the new sound over the old sound. I want to be perfectly clear. I still think Still Life and Blackwater Park are the best things Opeth ever has or ever will create. But much like Dream Theater, they have no intention of going back to their old style. So once I accepted that, I found that they are extremely talented musicians, even with the new style. Encounter Venom is clearly Opeth of the modern day, but I feel like they found their footing with this one in the progressive metal style that they've been honing since Heritage. There is still no screaming on this album, but they make up for it with thick bass lines and a few sludgy riffs here and there. I quickly joked a few videos ago about the Swedish version being better than the English version despite me not understanding the language. Yeah, I still stand by that. The English version still works, but the Swedish one is a lot more natural. If you get the chance, check out either version, but don't skimp out on the Swedish version of Encounter Venom. It works so much better, and you won't regret it. And here we are, right at number 1. But before we get to that, let's take a quick little detour to talk about the best EP of 2019, because EPs are worth talking about just as much as albums are. So before we get to number 1 for the top 10 best albums of 2019, let's talk about the best EP, because this one is definitely worth talking about. OVERT Enemy is a band that I discovered this year through a promo list I've been using for reviews, and I'm glad I found them and their EP Possession. It's a ripping listen from front to back, and it only takes 24 minutes to kick your ass. It's an album that sits comfortably in the thrash metal genre, but also doesn't stick with the thrash metal genre. No joke, the biggest reason that this album is on this list is because there are thrash metal elitists out there that'll say that every album has to sound the same, or it's, not going to be in the genre anymore, so if it sounds different, it's no longer thrash metal. And thanks to OVERT Enemy, I now have ammunition to shut those idiots up. If you haven't done so already, subject yourself to Possession. Wait, no, that didn't sound right. Subject yourself to Possession. You know what, I'm going to rewrite that line before I upload this video, so we should be good. You won't have to hear that. And here we are, the number 1 best metal album of 2019. If you haven't guessed it yet, I can't help you with this one, but let's reveal it. Yeah, I'm one of those metal critics that thinks Tool's 2019 release was God's gift to erectile dysfunction. But what can I say? Tool is fantastic, and Fear Inoculum was also exceptionally fantastic. No, it's not worth the 13 years of hype, but in fairness, nothing can live up to that kind of hype. Nothing can live up to 13 plus years of being praised as one of the best bands to ever exist. Nothing can live up to the chopping of the charts once everything went digital. Nothing could live up to that kind of hype. But even with those odds against it, Fear Inoculum still pulled through exceptionally well. Way better than I was expecting with that kind of struggle to deal with. From the title track to Mocking Beat, it's an eclectic experience that twists and turns through a bath of hypnotic riffs and bass lines, chaotic, complex drum grooves, and intriguing melodies that infect your ears. Again, not worth the hype, but even with that, Tool still delivered the best album of 2019. And I can't wait to hear what they do next. In 2040. God, I hope not. Please don't do that again. And that concludes the best metal albums of 2019. What were your personal favorites from this year? Let me know in the comments down below. I really want to know what you were listening to this year. But with that in mind, I'm feeling pretty good about all this right now. After all, there were a lot of amazing albums that I just talked about. They were really good. Put me in a happy mood. But now I need to get off this happy high. To help me out with that, come with me over to the worst of 2019 list so that we can sour this mood. Thanks so much for watching. Click subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the mosh pit next time. Have a good night, and have a happy new year.